Hey Matt, the interception that hit Adunze in the hands, was that a throw Caleb should make? I mean, it was in a tight window. He said he saw the defender's back, so let it rip, and it was right there. But again, given the situation, given where you were on the field, were you comfortable with that decision?
Yeah, I think it was an aggressive throw. I really do. I do think that he was open, but again, those windows close in the NFL, and the safe option would have been taking the back and the flat on that particular case. And again, we went through the motion and they end up shifting their coverage over there, and so on that particular play, again, aggressive throw. He's got to have some wisdom there and discernment in terms of when he needs to make that throw. But again, you never want to take away his aggressiveness, but he has to be really good with the football. And that's his number one job as a quarterback.
You mentioned.
This back and forth game, man. An opportunity presents itself, an opportunity squandered because someone makes a mistake. A new opportunity is created for the other guys. Another opportunity squandered, repeat. All damn game. We watched the two youngest quarterbacks in the league at the helm of their teams go toe to toe, and that's exactly what it looked like. Two teams just trying to figure it out. With moments that put you in awe, like dime passes to roam and stride, to moments that make you want to scream, like timeouts to decide if you're going for one or two after a touchdown. Like WTF, homie, what the football? With that loss to the Indianapolis Colts, the Chicago Bears are now 1-2. So, what did we learn about the Bears this week?
So I got a text from my buddy Neil. Shout out Neil.
Shout out, Neil.
After the game, and he said, "I expect you to be much more critical this week." So it's not hard to do. So Neil, this is for you, and I think everybody else that's listening too. It was bad. It was deflating, man. Like Indianapolis is ass, and you saw it. Anthony Richardson is not good. He's
That
terrible.
In the end zone was ridiculous.
That was awful. And then the one right after the half, you're just not even close. And you're like, thank God this guy isn't better, or we would just be getting our asses kicked. I think what we learned is this is the fourth best team in that division, right? I mean, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, miles ahead. And I don't even think it's because of their personnel. The Bears have the fourth best coaching staff in the division. They might have the fifth or sixth best head coach in that division because Ben Johnson's going to get another head coaching job. Brian Flores is going to get another head coaching job, and they're both going to be better than Matt Eberflus. So the Bears have like the sixth best head coach in that division. Their offensive coordinator still hasn't figured it out. We can't run the ball on a team that was giving up over 240 yards per game on the ground. Their starting running back had 13 rushes for 20 yards. 13 rushes for 20 yards. And they couldn't figure out, like, maybe we shouldn't give this guy a majority of the carries. Meanwhile, the guy that they drafted last year comes in, he picked up, I think, like 3 first downs on carries. And his was not great, He didn't finish with a lot of yards, but his yards per carry were way better than Swift's.
And he didn't play the first 2 games, right? So he was just not playing.
Yeah. And the only reason that he's seeing action is because Travis Homer, who was with Waldron in Seattle and knows that system, is on the IR. And so they're like, all right, well, I guess we can give this guy a shot. It's like, you drafted him. You need a power running back because your shifty guy has no vision and just can't get to the next level. And the blocking can't get him to the next level, right? That's where Swift excels. It's not between the tackles and getting those tough 3 yards. It's, can you get him outside? Can you run like a power zone so that he gets to the next level and he can make a safety miss and he can make a cornerback miss? That's where his strength is. Not like plowing through linebackers and, getting a tough 4 yards. The I can't get a tough 4 yards. Like, it's just asinine that they keep trying the same shit and like it's not working, right? And that goal line play where they had a chance to get a touchdown, that was where the game was lost, in my opinion. That was just coaching malpractice. They ran it with Herbert 3 times and then tried this stupid option play where they lost 11 yards. And I was like, oh, well, if they don't get it, maybe they'll at least pin Richardson at the 1 and he'll do something stupid. And maybe we can, like, you know, force a safety or get good field position. But no, Swift is like, this is too easy. Let's give them an extra 11 yards and just run backwards. It's
That's
just,
what that game kind of felt like. Was like it was like somebody did something stupid, and then somebody else did something stupid, and then they
Yeah.
just kept both like
trying to outstupid each other.
messing up, and it's like, come on, man. That game like felt for a while. That game felt like they were just sort of like moving back and forth in the same place, but nothing was actually happening. This was it 7-3 to end the first half. I don't know
Yeah,
what
something like that.
Yeah, with an almost Hail Mary, which was kind of insane. Like
Yeah,
lost
that was
through
kind
all
of
that was
insane.
kind of, but it just felt like nobody was going anywhere. Just like stuff was
Yeah.
happening, but nothing was actually happening.
Yeah. I mean, the Eberflus quote you just heard, right? Talking about Caleb's second interception. And how he's like, I don't want him to do that. We got to take the safe play. It's too aggressive of a throw. It's like, you never want to take away his aggressiveness, but he has to be really good with the football. That's his number 1 job as a quarterback. His number 1 job as a quarterback is to make some fucking plays, which we haven't had, you know, a consistent quarterback do that, right? This is with like these defensive head coaches. And that's why I think he's the worst coach in this division, because these defensive coaches, they all want their Trent Dilfers. They all want their Brad Johnsons of like, you know, throw it for $150, $160, have maybe a touchdown, but have 0 turnovers. That's a good quarterback day. We didn't draft this guy number 1 overall to do that, right? This guy is a playmaker. He's going to make mistakes. The first interception he threw was awful.
Yeah, trash.
Awful on the sidelines, right? But that's part of being a rookie. The second one, I think, was just bad luck. You know, it hit Rome. It was a good play by the corner. And then the safety that's like not even in the frame, you know, just like happens to be there and like bobbles it and gets 2 feet in bounds.
That was like where that ball was right in between Rome's hands. The corner's hand just happened to be in between Rome's hands as well. Like that throw was like a dime. Like, you know, obviously like, yeah, the defender just played that fantastic. And then
he did. He did.
And
I mean, and yeah, maybe it was a risky throw, but at this point, like your offense isn't, you know, doing a lot. Let's try to take some shots. I don't really have a problem with that. The first one I do have a problem with, that was just poor, and I think he's going to learn from that. But I don't know, man. The coaching staff, just a lot of malpractice everywhere. You know, you knew in the second half, after that interception, right out of the half, Shane Steichen was not going to let Richardson really throw that much anymore. You know, it's going to be the Jonathan Taylor show, who's the best player like on the field yesterday. And you couldn't really stop him, right?
No.
Not a lot of adjustments there. I don't even need to talk about burning the timeout after the touchdown, which you alluded to earlier. Like, how do you not know what you're going to do? You have the whole drive to think, to be like, okay, if we score here, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Why do you have to burn a timeout? Because you're like, derp, I'm not really sure. You know, I mean, even if you went for 1, I don't necessarily agree with it, but at least like, okay, fine. You have some conviction and you've thought about it and this is your plan, right? You're the head coach. Fine, that's your plan. But to not have a plan is just like, what are you doing, man? You know, and then at the end, we only had 1 timeout left. Now, granted, he got the first down, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered, but you know, it could have loomed large. It's just like things like that where I just don't trust this guy to figure it out, you know? And you look at like everybody else around the league in our division. It's like Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love is like supposed to be an MVP candidate, gets hurt in the first game. They put in a guy they traded a 7th round pick for, and he's just rolling along like nothing's wrong. Kevin O'Connell, you know, starts Sam Darnold, who's been on 4 different teams. They're crushing it right now. You know, and then the Lions are a potent offense, right? And our team is still just can't figure it out. Now, Granted, all that being said, I do want to circle back. I did say that this would take 4 or 5 games, right? Now it's probably leaning towards more than 5 or 6, but we are still getting impatient. They are getting a little bit better each week, but it's not fast enough where I don't think if they figure this out soon enough, I think Eberflus is probably going to be out, if it keeps going like this.
Like in the middle of the season, you think?
No, the McCaskies have never fired a coach mid-season. I don't see them starting now. And I don't think it would do anybody any good, honestly, because I don't think the replacement's in the building anyway. So what's really the point? I think he probably gets, him and Shane get the rest of the season. Even if they lose every single game moving forward, the McCaskies just don't do stuff like that. So I don't see them firing a coach mid-season. But that being said, Waldron, I don't know what he sees and like how he makes his adjustments. I mean, granted, now it took him 2 games to finally start using Kmet more, 2.5 games. Because in the second half, Cole Kmet is that security blanket that we talked about.
He was our third down guy.
Third down.
Yeah.
And so
He takes
I don't know,
hits.
maybe.
Just as a side note, he like
Oh God, he
takes him
runched.
Takes him well. Like I mean, but he gets him and I feel like DJ Moore's getting mushed constantly as well.
Yeah, because they run these wide receiver screens for him, and like so he's like basically going to catch it and then get drilled right away because whoever's on the edge has probably missed their block, and so it's going to get destroyed. But yeah, Cole, man, what a dude! He is helping out Caleb, especially with Keenan Allen's out, because Keenan's supposed to be your third down, move the chains guy.
Yeah.
And so Cole has really embraced that. And it took Shane 2.5 games to figure that out. Maybe it'll take him 3.5 to figure out you should play Roschon Johnson as your early down back, the guy that can get you 3.5, 4 yards a pop. So you're not constantly in 2nd and 12s, 3rd and 9s when you're trying to run with Swift, not getting anywhere, right? You're putting Caleb in these terrible situations because you're mismanaging your personnel. And like, I don't know. Obviously we're just fans, we're not football experts, but like we can see it. So like, I don't understand what these guys are looking at and they can't see it.
That's so funny. I've had this conversation with Nicole, shout out Nicole, on so many other sports. It's like kind of that same thing. It's like, what makes these people special if we are seeing things that they seem to not be seeing? So like, what is happening in their mind? Why is it like, maybe there's things we don't know. Or maybe they're just like...
I mean, there are, right? There's things we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's egos has a lot to do with it, right? I mean, it's like, nope, this is how I'm going to do it. I know what I'm doing. And even if it doesn't work now, it'll work next time. Just trust the process. Like, ego has a lot to do with it. But just keep it simple, man. If something's working, do it. If it's not working, stop doing it. It's not really that complicated. I don't understand why there's not more quick slants. Caleb, unlike Justin, he throws it pretty well in the middle of the field. Why don't you run more of those? You have DJ Moore, who's like a good contested catch, good yak guy. You don't just have to run him on jet sweeps and reverses and wide receiver screens, which is all, Shane seems to want to do.
It's happening so much. It seems like that's DJ's specialty. Like, I feel like just in these last couple of games, I've seen it so many times. Just quick outs him that he has to figure it out. That like
he's very good at making the first guy miss.
And he is. He's really, really, really good. But it's almost like there's like I don't know. Some of that stuff maybe starts to get a little predictable. You just watch him do that over and over and over again, and it's
it's just bad, man. Like any stat you look at. I mean, Caleb's throwing it 52 times or something against the league's worst run defense. Like, I get it, the run really wasn't working, but that's more of an indictment. And how could you not get the run to work? How could you ask this guy, your rookie quarterback, to throw 52 times against the worst run defense? Like, this just...
Is that's an offensive line issue more than a Swift issue, or a Swift issue more than an O-line issue?
It's a coaching issue. It's a coaching issue. Like, you should know the limitations and the strengths of your personnel, right? There's no reason that your starting running back should get 13 rushes for 20 yards. That's a failure on everybody's part. You're not putting your guys in a position to succeed. Your running back is not finding the lanes. Your offensive line is probably confused and getting overmatched on their one-on-ones. But that also comes back to coaching. It's like, okay, if this guy's getting overmatched or if these plays aren't working, find something else that works. There's so many ways to scheme up a running game. And You don't have to be stubborn with what you decided to go into the game with. And if it's not working, you as a coordinator, that's your job as a coordinator, is to figure out how to make this part work on the fly if something's not working. And, you know, his passing concepts got better, but his run concepts are just still not good. And I do think switching up Pryor for Nate Davis helped a little bit. Pryor's a humongous man.
He's so big.
He's so big. He's not that skilled, but he's just a big body, right? And maybe that helps a little bit. But I don't know, man. It's taking a little bit longer than I would have liked for them to speed it up. I would have thought the offense would have at least looked competent by game 3. Maybe not reaching their full potential, but competent. And they're still very far away from that. And, you know, I think a lot of people, myself included, probably overestimated how long it would take for that to happen. But, you know, we said on this podcast 4 or 5 games. So let's at least give it to the 5-game mark and see where they're at. You know, they've got some, you know, the Rams defense is you can score on them. The Panthers defense, you can score on them. You know, there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to improve here still going forward.
There is definitely this feeling as I was watching the game yesterday of like, ugh, this is kind of a bummer. Like, and part of it was like, you know, we tried to be like, talk about why we're hopeful and also try and be mindful of the reality of like, you know, he's a rookie, all these new pieces. But there is like, there's feeling of like, damn, there's like a reality of what it's like to watch, you know, as you talked about last week, the learning curve. And like, it kind of starts to feel like, because the high at the beginning was so high, like watching yesterday's game starts to feel like fairly low and like frustrating. And like, it's more than like you're trying to wrestle with this, like, yes, we have 5 games, there's these things that we're seeing, but also like, God, that felt terrible.
Yeah, I think you're right. Part of it's the expectations, but if you just look at it in a vacuum of like, hey, the only thing that really matters for a rookie quarterback that you take number 1 overall going into that season is the development of that rookie quarterback, right? Because largely rookie quarterbacks get drafted to terrible teams, like 2-win teams, 3-win teams, right? And all, you know, the team's going to be bad again. You're just looking to see if this guy looks the part. Is he improving? And if you just look at it in a vacuum that way, I think it's positive, right? I think Caleb has improved every single game. In terms of his like confidence, his decision-making. You know, obviously there's still ups and downs, right? He still has a couple poor decisions every game, but he has a couple awesome throws every game, right? And you can see the improvement from him and Rome. You're like, they're both top 10 picks and Rome's getting better every game too. And you're like, okay, this is good. But at the same time, you were expecting the rest of the team to be better so that when he gets up to speed, it's like, we're a good football team. But right now, him and Rome's ascension is really the only improvement that we're seeing week to week. And that's a little discouraging.
Mm.
I think, and you look at like, let's piggyback on that a little bit. Like, let's talk about Caleb in a vacuum, right? This week they gave him the wristband. It's the first time he's ever worn a wristband in a game. And I think they did that because like we talked about last week, he's getting the plays in so late. And by the time he gets to the line of scrimmage, he assesses the situation. If he doesn't like the play, there's only 5 or 6 seconds left. He can't really change it, or, you know, he's got to roll with it. And so they wanted to get the play in faster. That's why he had the wristband. And so I think that did help. We didn't get any delay of games, I don't think, which we've had a couple of those. It didn't work on the option play. He said he didn't really like the look, but there was only 5 or 6 seconds left and he felt he didn't want to burn a timeout. Maybe he should have, because it's a 4th down play. It's a big one. But overall, I think it helped him. I think you also noticed he didn't have any batted balls this game, which was a problem, I think, for him in the previous couple games, something that he, I think, worked on and improved on. And his escapability looked a little bit better. So I think he did improve a little bit. You know, like I said, the first pick was awful, all on him. Second pick was bad luck. The strip sack, I'm not sure why Kmet was lined up on their best edge rusher. That was poor. I think maybe Caleb could have recognized that and been like, okay, this guy's going to come in hot. But Mercedes Lewis was also there, and maybe he's expecting to have a little bit more time. He tried to step up, but Latu, you know, he's a 1st-round pick. He had a great move.
Yeah.
That was really deflating because you felt like they were getting in their groove and you're like, damn, they could maybe score on this drive. And then the very first play, I think strip sack, and you're like, well, shit,
Yeah.
that's over.
And
You
he
know?
was standing, like I felt like he in his head looked like I'm about to launch this shit. Like there was interesting, like when a quarterback feels like they have all the time in the world, and he was
Yeah,
like sizing it up, and then like, yeah, it
yeah.
was. I think he looked right. I don't know. I was watching that being like, I felt like, yeah, a really nice throw. Something good was about to happen.
Something
And so
good
you're
was
right.
about to happen.
And then
Yeah,
it didn't.
that's too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw some improvement out of him, and I think he'll just continue to get better, which is the main point of the season. But I don't know if his coaching staff will. Right, Eberflus has had enough time to pick up being a head coach, and the same mistakes we're seeing last year in terms of bad time management, bad challenges, bad use of timeouts. It's still the same this year. So I don't know. I'm kind of out on Flus. I don't want to be out on Waldron because it's game 3, but I'm not impressed with what I've seen so far. He's made a couple adjustments, but I don't know if they were more out of necessity or out of like him actually like, being like this might work better. So we'll see. I'm just worried the Bears are just a finesse team now, on offense. They're not like a ground and pound team. They couldn't pound it in for 1 yard, and their 2 goal line TDs came on passes from Caleb. And most of their offense comes from passes from Caleb. I think that's just who they're going to be for a little bit until they can figure out how to chew up clock and beat you the old fashioned way.
Dang. Okay, so what do we got to look forward to next week?
Ugh, another game, I guess. Well, you know what? Redemption is just 1 game away, right? So this week we can focus on the same things that we did last week, but I think I want to focus on McVay and Flus as kind of the matchup to watch. McVay is an offensive guy, really knows that side of the ball. Flus, defensive guy, he's really good on his side of the ball. I mean, McVay's just going to outclass him. I think that as a head coach, he probably will do all the little things better than Flus will, but they're both owners of their side of the ball, so it'll be kind of a strength on strength. So that'll be something to watch. So the coaching matchup, especially those two, and then let's talk about Waldron as well. Like we said, it took him 3 games to use Komet more. Maybe the light bulb will go off and he'll start using Roshan a little bit more. Let's see what Waldron learned from game 3 to game 4. Look out for Keenan Allen. I don't know if he's going to play. How can he help the offense? He's just another security blanket out there. So I would watch to see how he's doing. And then I would watch on the Rams side, Kyron Williams. He's a very dynamic running back. And if the Bears can keep him in check, they have a better chance just because the Rams are missing their top 2 wideouts, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Neither will play. So it's going to be very Kyron Williams focused. Matt Stafford isn't going to make stupid decisions like Anthony Richardson will. So they're going to have to stop Kyron Williams to be successful. So it's going to be a coaching matchup, and unfortunately we are at a disadvantage with that. Sorry, I'm trying to find some positives, but I'm very negative at the moment.
That's all right. I think it's all sprinkled in there. This is the reality of season. There's like
It's the reality of a rookie quarterback. Yeah, we got to ride the highs and lows. But what just irks me is it's not even the rookie quarterback that we're riding and like being frustrated with. Yeah, he's making some mistakes.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
Jesus, like he's standing tall. He's getting killed out there. He's not getting a ton of help, and the coaching staff is just like derping it up on the sidelines. I don't know what's going on. It's
Yeah,
frustrating.
Doug. Yeah. Well, snap. Another week, another dollar, I guess.
Let's do it. Let's keep the grind going. We're doing hard work over here analyzing this nonsense.
Well, for Samir Patel, I'm Chirag Rathod. We're the Bears in the neighborhood, and we will catch you all next week.
Sounds good. I hope that was critical enough for you, Neil.